Alright guys, so we're on book 7 of Marcus Aurelius. This is wickedness. This is what you have often seen, and you shall have this thought ready to hand against any eventuality. I have seen this often before. Generally, wherever you look, you will find the same things. The histories, ancient, more recent, and modern, are full of them. Cities and households are full of them today. There is nothing new, all is familiar, and all short-lived. Your principles are living things. How else could they be deadened except by the extinction of the corresponding mental images? And the constant rekindling of these is up to you. I am able to form the judgment I should about this event. If able, why troubled? All that lies outside my own mind has nothing to it. Learn this and you stand upright. You can live once more. Look at things again as you used to look at them, and this is the resumption of life. The empty pomp of a procession plays on the stage. Flocks and herds, jousting shows, a bone thrown to puppies, titbits into the fish ponds, ants toiling and carrying, the scurries of frightened mice, puppets dancing on their strings. While amid all this you must keep yourself tolerant, do not snort at them, but bear in mind that a person's worth is measured by the worth of what he values. In conversation, one ought to follow closely what is said, and any impulse to follow closely what takes place. In the latter case, to see immediately the intended object of reference; in the former, to watch carefully what is meant. Is my mind sufficient for this task, or is it not? If it is, I use it for the task as an instrument given me by the nature of the whole. If it is not, I either cede the work, if it is otherwise my responsibility, to someone better able to accomplish it, or do it as best I can, calling in aid someone who, in cooperation with my own directing mind, can achieve what is at this particular time the need and benefit of the community. Whatever I do, either by myself or with another, should have this sole focus, the common benefit and harmony. How many who once rose to fame are now consigned to oblivion, and how many who sang their fame are long disappeared? Do not be ashamed of help. It is your task to achieve your assigned duty like a soldier in a scaling party. What then if you are lame and cannot climb the parapet by yourself, but this is made possible by another's help? Do not be ashamed of help. Do not let the future trouble you. You will come to it, if that is what you must, possessed of the same reason that you apply now to the present. All things are meshed together, and a sacred bond unites them. Hardly a single thing is alien to the rest. Ordered together in their places, they together make up the one order of the universe. There was one universe out of all things, one God pervading all things, one substance, one law, one common reason, and all intelligent beings, and one truth. If indeed there is also one perfection of all cognate beings sharing in the same reason. Everything material rapidly disappears in the universal substance. Every cause is rapidly taken up into the universal reason, and the memory of everything is rapidly buried in eternity. For a rational being to act in accordance with nature is also to act in accordance with reason. Standing straight or held straight. Oh, I like that one. Either stand on your own if someone's going to hold you up. Rational beings collectively have the same relation as the various limbs of an organic unity. They were created for a single cooperative purpose. The notion of this will strike you more forcefully if you keep on saying to yourself, I am a limb of the composite body of rational beings. If, though, by the change of one letter from L to R, Malos to Meros, you call yourself simply a part rather than a limb, you do not yet love your fellow men from your heart. Doing does not yet delight you as an end in itself. Doing good does not yet delight you as an end in itself. You are still doing it as a mere duty, not yet as a kindness to yourself. Doing good does not yet delight you as an end in itself. You are still doing it as a mere duty, not yet as a kindness to yourself. Like doing good is good for you. Let any external thing that so wishes happen to those parts of me which can be affected by its happening. And they, if they wish, can complain. I myself am not yet harmed unless I judge this occurrence something bad, and I can refuse to do so. Whatever anyone does or says, I must be a good man. It is as if an emerald or gold or purple were always saying, whatever anyone does or says, I must be an emerald and keep my own color. Remember who you are, pretty much. The directing mind does not disturb itself. For example, it does not frighten itself or lead itself to desire. If anyone else can frighten it or cause it pain, Let him do so. Of itself, of its own judgment, it will not deliberately turn to such modes. The body should take care as far as it can to avoid harm. The sensual soul, which feels fear or pain, should say if it does so. But that which makes general assessment of all these things will not suffer at all. It will not itself rush to any such judgment. Of itself, the directing mind is without needs, unless it creates a need for itself. In the same way, it is untroubled and unhindered, unless it troubles or hinders itself. The directing mind. Happiness is a benign God or divine blessing. Why then, my imagination, are you doing what you do? Go away in the God's name, the way you came. I have no need of you. You have come in your old habit. I'm not angry with you. Only go away. He's like having trouble with his imagination. It's making him unsettled. Is someone afraid of change? Well, what can ever come to be without change? Or what is dearer or closer to the nature of the whole than change? Can you yourself take your bath if the wood that heats it is not changed? Can you be fed unless what you eat changes? Can any other of the benefits of life be achieved without change? Do you not see then that for you to be changed is equal and equally necessary to the nature of the whole? I like this one. Change. All our bodies being of one nature with the whole and cooperating with it as our limbs do with each other, pass through the universal substance as through a swirling stream. How many a Chrysippus, a Socrates, an Epictetus has eternity already swallowed? This same thought should strike you about any man at all, in anything. All our bodies pass through the universal substance as through a swirling stream. I have only one anxiety, that I myself should not do something which the human constitution does not intend, or does not intend in this way or at this time. So he only has one anxiety, that I myself should not do something which the human constitution does not intend, or does not intend in this way or at. Okay. Soon you will have forgotten all things. Soon all things will have forgotten you. It is human nature to love even those who trip and fall. This follows if you reflect at the time that all men are brothers, that they go wrong through ignorance, not intent, that in a short while both you and they will be dead, and above all that the man has not harmed you, he has not made your directing mind worse than it was before. Universal nature uses the substance of the universe like wax, making now the model of a horse, then melting it down and using its material for a tree, next for a man, next for something else. Each one of these subsists for only the briefest time. It is no more hardship for a box to be broken up than to be put together. A deep scowl on the face is contrary to nature, and when it becomes habitual, expressiveness begins to die, or is even finally extinguished beyond rekindling. Try to attend to this very point, that this is something against reason. In the field of moral behavior, if even the consciousness of doing wrong is lost, what reason is there left for living? If even the consciousness of doing wrong, like once you're just so far gone that you're not even aware of your bad behavior, what's the point? All that you see will in a moment be changed by the nature which governs the whole. It will create other things out of this material, and then again others out of that, so that the world is always young. When someone does you some wrong, you should consider immediately what judgment of good or evil led him to wrong you. When you see this, you will pity him and not feel surprise or anger. I want to share that with my daughter. His Meditations, Book 7, 26. You yourself either still share his view of good or something like it, in which case you should understand and forgive. If on the other hand you no longer judge such things as either good or evil, it will be the easier for you to be patient with the unsighted. Do not dream of possession of what you do not have. Rather reflect on the greatest blessings and what you do have, and on their account remind yourself how much they would have been missed if they were not there. But at the same time, you must be careful not to let your pleasure in them habituate you to dependency, to avoid distress if they are sometimes absent. I like that one too. It means don't fucking withdraw into yourself. It is in the nature of the irrational directing mind to be self-content with acting rightly, and the calm it thereby enjoys. Erase the print of imagination. Stop the puppet strings of impulse. Define the present moment of time. Recognize what happens to you or to another. Analyze and divide the event into the causal and the material. Think of your final hour. Leave the wrong done by another where it started. Stretch your thought to parallel what is being said. Let your mind get inside what is happening and who is doing it. Take your joy in simplicity, in integrity, in indifference to all that lies between virtue and vice. Love mankind, follow God. Democritus says all else is subject to the law of convention. Only the elements are absolute and real, but enough for you to remember that all is subject to law, precepts reduced to very few. On death, either dispersal if we are atoms, or if we are a unity, extinction or a change of home. Either dispersal if we are atoms, extinction if we are unity, just a change of home. On pain, unbearable pain carries us off. Chronic pain can be borne. The mind preserves its own serenity by withdrawal, and the directing reason is not impaired by pain. It is for the parts injured by the pain to protest if they can. On fame, look at their minds, the nature of their thought and what they seek or avoid, and see how, just as drifting sands constantly overlay the previous sand, so in our lives what we once did is very quickly covered over by subsequent layers. So to a man endowed with noble intelligence and a vision of all time and all being, do you think that this human life will seem of great importance? Impossible, he said. So such a man will not think there is anything fearful in death either? Certainly not. A king's lot, to do good and be damned. So a king's lot, to do good and be damned. It is shameful that the face should be so obedient, shaping and ordering its expression as the mind dictates, when the mind cannot impose its own shape and order on itself. Mere things, brute facts, should not provoke your rage. They have no mind to care. May you give joy to the immortal gods and joy to us. Ripe ears of corn are reaped, and so are lives. One stands, another falls. If I and my 2 sons are now no more, the gods concerned, this too will have its cause. For good and right stand on my side. Don't join in mourning or in ecstasy. But I could give this man a proper answer. I would say, you are mistaken, my friend, if you think that a man of any worth at all should take into account the risk of life or death, and not have his sole consideration in any action whether he is doing right or wrong, the act of a good man or a bad. The truth of the matter, my fellow Athenians, is this: whatever position a man has taken up in his own best judgment, or is assigned by his commander, there it seems to me he should stay and face the danger, giving no thought to death or anything else before dishonor. Before dishonor. He should stay and face the danger, giving no thought to death or anything else before dishonor. But my dear fellow, consider it possible that nobility and virtue are something other than saving one's life or having it saved. Could it not be that anyone who is truly a man should dismiss any concern for a particular length of life and not simply live for the sake of living? Rather, he should leave all this to God and believe what the women folks say, that no one ever escapes the day of his fate. His thought should be on this further question: how best to live his life in the time he has to be alive. Observe the movement of the stars as if you are running their courses with them, and let your mind constantly dwell on the changes of the elements into each other. Such imaginings wash away the filth of life on the ground. Further, when your talk is about mankind, view earthly things as if looking down on them from some point high above. Flocks, armies, farms, weddings, divorces, births, deaths, the hubbub of the law courts, desert places, various foreign nations, festivals, funerals, markets, all the medley of the world and the ordered conjunction of opposites. Look back over the past, all those many changes of dynasties, and you can foresee the future too. It will be completely alike, incapable of deviating from the rhythm of the present. So for the study of human life, 40 years are as good as 10,000. What more will you see? Again, what is born of earth goes back to earth, from the growth from heavenly seed, returns whence it came, to heaven. Or else this, a dissolution of the nexus of atoms, and senseless molecules likewise disperse. Again, with special food or drink or sorcery, seeking a channel from the stream of death, the wind that blows from God we must endure, and labor uncomplaining. The wind that blows from God we must endure, and labor uncomplaining. Better at throwing his man, but not more public-spirited, or more decent, or more disciplined to circumstance, are more tolerant of neighbor's faults, better at throwing his man, but not more public-spirited or more decent or more disciplined to circumstance or more tolerant of neighbor's faults. Where a task can be accomplished in accordance with the reason which God and men share, there was nothing to be afraid of, because where there is the possibility of benefit from an action which moves along the proper path, following our own human constitution, there should be no lurking fear of any harm. Everywhere and all the time, it is up to you to honor God in contentment with your present circumstance, to treat the men who are your present company with justice, and to lavish thought on every present impression in your mind, so that nothing slips in past your understanding. Do not look around at the directing minds of other people, but keep looking straight ahead to where nature is leading you, both the universal nature and what happens to you, and your own nature and what you must do yourself. Every creature must do what follows from its own constitution. The rest of creation is constituted to serve rational beings, just as in everything else the lower exists for the higher, but rational beings are here to serve each other. So the main principle in man's constitution is the social. The second is resistance to the promptings of the flesh. It is a specific property of rational and intelligent activity to isolate itself and never be influenced by the activity of the senses or impulses. Both these are of the animal order, and it is the aim of intelligent activity to be sovereign over them and never yield them the mastery. And rightly so, as it is the very nature of intelligence to put all these things to its own use. The third element in a rational constitution is a judgment, unhurried and undeceived. So let your directing mind hold fast to these principles and follow the straight road ahead. Then it has what belongs to it. Imagine you were now dead or had not lived before this moment. Now view the rest of your life as a bonus and live it as nature directs. Love only what falls your way and is fated for you. What could suit you more than that? Love only what falls your way and is fated for you. What could suit you more than that? In every contingency, keep in your mind's eye those who had the same experience before and reacted with vexation, disbelief, or complaint. In every contingency, keep in your mind's eye those who had the same experience before and reacted. So learn from them. So where are they now? Nowhere. Well then, do you want to act like them? Why not leave the moods and shifts of others to the shifting and the shifted, and for yourself concentrate wholly on how to make use of these contingencies? You will then use them well, and they will be raw material in your hands. Only take care and seek your own best good in all that you do. Remember these two things. The action is important, the context indifferent. Only take care and seek your own best good in all that you do. The action, it doesn't matter what it is. Don't let it affect your emotions, how you react to it. That's what's important. Dig inside yourself. Inside there was a spring of goodness ready to gush at any moment if you keep digging. I like that one. The body too should stay firmly composed and not fling itself about either in motion or at rest. Just as the mind displays qualities in the face, keeping it intelligent and attractive, something similar should be required of the whole body, but all this should be secured without making an obvious point of it. Just as the mind displays qualities in the face, keeping it intelligent and attractive, something similar should be required of the whole body. But all this should be secured without making an obvious point of it. The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing, and that it stands ready for what comes and is not thrown by the unforeseen. I like that one for sure. This whole fucking page is pretty good. All the time you should consider who are these people whose endorsement you wish, and what are the minds that direct them. When you look into the sources of their judgment and impulse, you will not blame their unwitting error, nor will you feel the need of their endorsement. When you look into the sources of their judgment and impulse, you will not blame their unwitting error, nor will you feel the need of their endorsement. No soul, says Plato, likes to be robbed of truth, and the same holds of justice, moderation, kindness, and all such virtues. Essential that you should keep this constantly in your mind. This will make you more gentle to all. So no soul, says Plato, likes to be robbed of truth. And the same holds of justice, moderation, kindness, and all such virtues. Essential that you should keep this constantly in your mind. This will make you more gentle to all. Whenever you suffer pain, have ready to hand the thought that pain is not a moral evil and does not harm your governing intelligence. Whenever you suffer pain, have ready to hand the thought that pain is not a moral evil and does not harm your governing intelligence. Pain can do no damage either to its rational or to its social nature. In most cases of pain, you should be helped too by the saying of Epicurus, pain is neither unendurable nor unending, as long as you remember its limits and do not exaggerate it in your imagination. So pain doesn't last forever, even if you die. Remember too that many things we find disagreeable are the unrecognized analogs of pain. Remember too that many things we find disagreeable are the unrecognized analogs of pain. Drowsiness, for example, oppressive heat, loss of appetite. So when you find yourself complaining of any of these, say to yourself, you are giving in to pain. Take care that you never treat the misanthropic as they treat mankind. I like that one. How do we know that Pelagius' character did not make him a better man than Socrates? It is not enough that Socrates died a more glorious death, that he argued more skillfully with the sophists, that he showed greater endurance in spending a whole night out in the frost, that he was braver in his decision to refuse the order to arrest Leon of Salamis, that he swaggered in the streets. Though no one could well question if this last is true. No, what we need to investigate is the nature of Socrates' soul. We should ask whether he was able to be content with the life of justice shown to men and piety to the gods. We should ask whether he was able to be content with the life of justice shown to men and piety to the gods, neither condemning all vice wholesale nor yet toadying to anyone's ignorance, not regarding anything allotted to him by the whole as misplaced in him or a crushing burden to endure, not lending his mind to share the poor passions of the flesh. Yeah, when Socrates was part of the Senate and they wanted him to falsely accuse somebody who was not guilty, he couldn't do it. When he was a younger man at the time. When they killed him, he was about 70. The way nature has blended you into the compound whole does not prevent you drawing a boundary around yourself and keeping what is your own in your own control. Always remember this. Remember too that the happy life depends on very little. The happy life depends on very little. And do not think just because you have given up hope of becoming a philosopher or a scientist, you should therefore despair of a free spirit, integrity, social conscience, obedience to God. It is wholly possible to become a divine man without anybody's recognition. So he always says this. He always says scientists and philosophers, they all want to be recognized, It is wholly possible to become a divine man without anybody's recognition. Live through your life without pressure and in the utmost contentment, even if all are clamoring what they will against you, even if wild beasts are tearing off the limbs of this poor lump of a body accreted round you. What in all this prevents the mind from preserving itself in tranquility, in true judgment of circumstance and readiness to use any event submitted to it? What in all this prevents the mind from preserving itself in tranquility? So that judgment says to circumstance, this is what you really are, however different you may conventionally appear. And ready use says, so judgment says to circumstance, true judgment of circumstance and readiness to use any event submitted to it. And ready use says to event, I was looking for you. Always take the present moment as raw material for the exercise of rational and social virtue. He says, don't be crazy, be rational, reasonable. In short, for the art of man or God, because a God or a man can assimilate anything that happens, it will not be new or hard to handle, but familiar and easy. Perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last, without frenzy, without apathy, without pretense. Don't be fake. Don't be a dick. Don't be crazy. Perfection of character is this, to live each day as if it were your last. The gods who are free from death Do not resent their need throughout all the length of eternity to tolerate in such numbers such worthless creatures as men. What is more, they even care for them in all sorts of ways. And do you, with the merest time before your own exit, refuse to make the effort? And that when you are one of the worthless creatures yourself? I love that one. I love the whole one. So the gods work harder than us to love men, and they still love them. It is ridiculous not to escape from one's own vices, which is possible, while trying to escape the vices of others, which is impossible. That's a good one too. Whatever the rational and social faculty finds neither intelligent nor to the common good, it judges, with good reason, beneath itself. When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you still look as fools do for a third thing besides credit for good works or a return? When you have done good and another has benefited, why do you still look as fools do for a third thing besides credit for good works and a return? Why do you look for, what would the third thing be? Well, I did good work, so you get credit for that or a return. I think he's saying even if you don't get a return, you got something. No one tires of receiving benefit. An action in accordance with nature is your own benefit. He's pretty much saying, like, to be happy and content with your life, you'll find that that's the best thing you could do for yourself. Do not then tire of benefit gained by benefit given. Do not tire then of benefit gained so to act in accordance with nature is the gift from nature. The nature of the whole set itself to create a universe. So now either everything that comes into being springs from that as logical consequence, or else even the primary aims to which the directing mind of the universe sets its own impulse are irrational. So the nature of the whole set itself to create a universe. So now either everything that comes into being springs from that as logical consequence, or else even the primary aims to which the directing mind of the universe sets its own impulse are irrational. Reminding yourself of this will help you to face much with greater tranquility. It's like a man who doesn't have legs should find other ways to walk.